Um, but it's also unique. And once again, I've already framed it with my experience doesn't compare to, even other people who were in GWAT, there's just luck of the draw or different times, different experiences. So I will never try to argue that my combat time is X compared to yours, because it's all relative. And it's nothing compared to what people have experienced in the past. However, there's some very unique times that you find yourself in, and I think going back to that flow state, there are times when you will find that nothing but that intensity of combat, even if it's not like the most like difficult suicide mission, number one dude in the playing deck that we're trying to go after, but just knowing that it's combat and knowing that you're going to take someone's life and that people's lives are on the line, that those stakes, I truly believe in that stress and performance curve.
Mm-hmm.
And those are times when, man, you optimize everything around that action and that execute. And you see it amongst everyone that you're flying with. You see it amongst everyone on the ground, that everyone starts to naturally sync up as that stress level starts to increase. And it's then time to go kinetic. And there is nothing like that first drop that you have in combat when you release live weapons off your aircraft for the first time in anger to kill someone on the ground or to blow something up. In that, getting your heart rate going. I mean, that heart rate's going, even though, your kind of time dilution and how long tasks take. And you look back on it and watch the tapes, and you're like, oh, that was like 10 seconds. And it felt like 9 hours. And you go through and you're like, man, I've done 15 weapon systems checks, and I keep doing them just to make sure that I don't screw something up. And then you're like, well, actually, I did that 3 times and it took 15 seconds. But in your mind, you're like, man, this took like 9 hours.
Yeah.
And then, seeing that you've got everything, and then just like everything else, the enemy gets a vote or something goes wrong. And really seeing that something that we discount, that muscle memory and that training matters. And as things get more stressful, the reason why training day in and day out is so important is because you're doing so many other things. You're monitoring so much other stuff that's going on in that combat high stress environment, that I'm sure the first time you ever pulled your trigger, you weren't actively doing anything to think about it. You were just rote memory, muscle memory, pulling the trigger, because that's what you had done thousands of times before. And it's the same way in jets. And it's almost ends up being towards the end, like when you're driving home at the end of the day, and next thing you know, you're just in your driveway and you don't remember anything. And it's weird how that happens. And it only happens usually in combat, where you're like, oh, I just dropped like 2 bombs, and I just did that out of like muscle memory and did all my checks, and it was successful. Yeah. But I wasn't like actively trying to do that. My body just did it because I was just trained to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so